Your gas is free, your gas is free, in a debt-based economy. Your gas is free, your gas is free, in a debt-based economy. Your gas is free, your gas is free, in a debt-based economy. Your gas is free, your gas is free, in a debt-based economy. Here's the Webster Report with Paul the Gasman Webster.
Hello and good evening, and welcome to the first Webster Report of the Gregorian Pagan New Year on the 5th of January 2025. We took a bit of time off over the pagan festivities. I've even mixed with pagans during the festivities. Had some really good conversations, some great time with family, because, you know, for a lot of people that it's not about what the symbology or anything what Christmas means. It's about people coming together. Sometimes that tradition can be the hardest things to actually look at and to break, but you know, you live peaceably and we've got to try and get on. We've hit the ground running, haven't we, into this new year. We're looking at new viruses. We're looking at bird flu now is going into cats. I don't know where my cat is at the minute. I hope she's not plotting to give me some bird flu. So we've got bird flu, we've got new variants. China's saying it's going to be worse than COVID. We've got masks being pushed again in this country. We've also got an anus-eating virus, apparently. And then on top of that, we have a surgeon that caught cancer from a patient. Now, I've got to ask the question, are people going to be this stupid again to fall for all this crap that's coming out? Just pure rubbish coming out of propaganda in these mainstream media articles. And we're still in the position now where we question it. We're being told to shut up. We can't question it again. Are people going to really go for that? You know, it's going to be, as I said, we've hit the ground running already in this new year. So we're going to have to have those conversations that we spoke about last year. Yeah, we're going to have some more this year. I've no doubt that my partner in all this exposing of this fraud and criminality, especially as we're now going to see all the gas, water and electric bills going up again, people are switching on that something needs to be done. So we've got to have these conversations again. And I've no doubt that there's going to be one or two things on my partner's mind. What's happening with you, Alex? How did you enjoy your pagan festivities, sir?
See that bright light shining there? Oh, it's like, you know.
It's like Patrick Swayze's going to walk in behind you, mate.
Real, isn't it? Well, you know, I'm a writer, allegedly, but I don't think I could write science fiction that's as good as what we're seeing today. I could have said fiction. There's a reason I said science fiction. And it's because there's an idea from science fiction, even though it's fiction, which I think is very interesting. And it describes, I think, where we're at. You don't have to take an overtly Christian view to be able to buy into it, but it can also fit with a Christian view. So hopefully it means we're not at odds with other viewers from the outset, even though as Christians, we do have to be at odds at times because of the nature of the message, but sometimes we don't. And it's this notion of timelines. If you thought about like quantum reality and interdimensional stuff, which a lot of these people hijack by talking about aliens and cryptozoology and stuff, there seems to be something in it. The whole idea of unveiling, things like this. There's lots of stuff, you know, the Greek word apocalypsis in the book of Revelation. There's this idea of an unveiling, which implies that there's a picture behind a picture. You know, sometimes you used to watch these like movies, like The Italian Job, and there'd be like an expensive painting, but behind it, there'd be a safe. And behind the picture in the wall, or the bullying is, or whatever it is. So I think all of us can see that there are levels or layers to reality, and we see some of them. It's the same when we look at a table, its constitution, it looks solid state, but we know there's a lot more going on. So it seems to me that if you look at all the New Age lot, right, and they've got a particular outlook on the metaphysics, which basically is their model of what underlying reality is. So it looks one way, and then they have a view of what's happening. And they're always talking about these crystalline structures that humans are evolving into, and so on and so forth. And they talk about light bodies and density and all this. But that's just a metaphysic. And bottom line with that is, at the end of the day, we know, even from a Christian perspective, Jesus was given a resurrection body, which resembled the body he had before. Otherwise, Thomas and others wouldn't have been able to recognize it. But it was also strangely different. So it has some continuity and some discontinuity with the physical existence we know now, but it's clearly been transformed in some way. So that is a metaphysic as well, even though you might read about it in scripture. It's a transformation where something from a different realm or a different essence of being can somehow be within this scene of time, this, call it a historical timeline if you want to be like sci-fi about it. So we've got experience, whether from a Christian perspective, a sci-fi perspective, and even the New Ages. Everyone's got a view about what's going on behind the curtain. Now, we actually might agree on a lot of the points of what's going on. So this idea of developing a light body that's not as dense, that's more suitable to a more ethereal life, there's no incompatibility. The incompatibility that we're really dealing with from a Christian perspective against all other perspectives is those other perspectives never demand any responsibility. There's no such concept of repentance. There's no such idea that I have a wayward mind and heart that continually goes astray and needs correcting. That's the main difference. So I don't think we should ever get bogged down on some of the, the other points where there could be quite a lot of overlap, because none of us know exactly how the metaphysical transformations are going to take place, even if many different camps believe in them. The underlying core of the Christian message is different, but to bring it back then, to acknowledge the similarities and the timelines, clearly something is changing, right? You can feel it in the atmosphere. It's portended in so many different ways. We can see the lawlessness that the Bible speaks about. Maybe some people don't correlate it as lawlessness. Maybe they just think it's a particularly crazy time, or they might say, oh, we've had times like this before. It's all relative to the era that we're living in. No matter how you rationalize it away, there is something highly unusual about the times in which we're living. Definitely. And the global dimension of this with the internet and everything else. And again, I don't really use astrology now, but a lot of the astrological transits, again, God created the heavens and the earth. We expect his fingerprints to be on everything and the movements of the planets. And yeah, absolutely. And they tell a story, which is rather dramatic. So I've got some feelings about what's going on and the phase that we're in and how long we're going to be in it for and the type of things that are going to happen. I'm not going to reveal them all now, but they might come out during the course of the conversation. But one thing is for sure, there are portents. Jesus said, there'll be signs in the heavens. The alignments are coming. We're going to see them. They're already visible. You can look into the sky and see them. Big conjunction coming up. All this stuff at the beginning of the sign of Aries, especially the back end of March. Eclipses, everything. So these are all signposts that God has inscribed into the fabric of reality. So, at the end of the day, whether you're an esoterist, believing in Hermes and this idea of as above, so below, there's a connection. There is a connection. So yeah, I'd say buckle up your seatbelt, because we're going to be in for a very interesting ride in the first, I'd say from March really to June, from month 3 to month 6, big time.
I think if this inauguration goes down without anything that's going to go on, we don't know. There's some it feels like you said, there's something changed. Everybody else is talking about it as well. We see the lawlessness every day that's going on, but there's something fundamentally changed. Now, is it going to be because the veil's getting very thin? Are we going to start decoding reality differently? Are frequencies that are outside the bandwidth of our vision, is our bandwidth either going to be expanded, or are they going to lower vibration to come in? This reality's got to come together somehow.
Yeah.
We see it so much in Hollywood films and entertainment. You mentioned science fiction. It's because the science fiction is now, it's always been portrayed to us as science fiction, but there's a lot of reality in some of this stuff what we're being portrayed as science fiction. Then you've got all the other people, the ones who have they're doing the talking about the big reveal. Stephen Greer's been talking about it for ages, that he's got all these secret things and he's got access to this and he knows this, but it's another bloke, it's another man coming with another offering saying, it's this, and it's this. So when we get all these people that are offering all these solutions or theories or speculation, then that's all it has to be, Alex. You've got to take that information and say, well, how's this going to balance out? I mean, we've had, it's normal now for a car to be driven into people. That was shocking one time, but now it's kind of normal that we're expecting this stuff. The one that happened in Germany, I think it was Germany, where they put anti-car barriers up so you couldn't get in, but they were removing them and replacing them with something. Just so happens at the time that this car comes through. So what is it that's going on? Because we're all looking at different things. We're all arguing about different things. All the bills going up again. We're going to see people who can't afford to pay these bills. Again, it goes back to, for me, if everybody had jumped on that gyro thing, we would have changed all this, because it would have given some people an understanding that there must be a reason why we don't pay again if this instrument does what it says. So we've got to then talk about that stuff, but people go, well, we don't know where we can get that. They won't give it, mate. Well, you've got to go and do it. You've got to do these things, but when you're in a position where you're married with 2 kids and you're paying a mortgage and you start saying, I'm not paying bills, you better bloody know why you're not paying them, and you better have some kind of a remedy or solution to what it is. For me, change your meters. People are going on about that now. Again, it's legal and lawful for you to change your meters, but with a qualified engineer and a safety certificate. What that doesn't do is help anything with that national debt. They still need that meter reading. It's the problem that we've got is the agents are acting as revenue collectors for debtors, and we need to break that jurisdiction wide open and show the difference. But when we're not recognised as being able to stand in that other jurisdiction because they don't have to, then that means we've got to do something. Well, what do we do? I've seen Donna Lee was in a group talking about stuff where we were all talking about with the common law courts when we were finding all these people guilty of things with juries. Well, we can't go and arrest them. Why? Because we know where to put them. We can't just open a basement or a cellar and put people in there and say, we've arrested them, because the police won't like that. So we have to deal with that again. It's the same with the agents. If we don't get them into a courtroom and say, this is what you should be doing, and you have to do that as a claimant, because as a defendant, they just don't have to listen, Alex. So if they're making all these arbitrary decisions, somehow we've got to get a grip of that. But this is happening on so many levels. You've got people who are being harassed over council tax, not applicable to the properties, but the police are there helping them. We are seeing some police at least waiting to the point of, I can't say waking up, but they're at least coming and saying, we're only here to prevent breach of the peace. But those are few and far between, and they're certainly not going to be picked for promotion if they can critically think for themselves, Al.
No. So we're going to face that issue then at the start of 2025. We don't want to be an ostrich with our head in the sand, pretending that things are not happening. But we also don't want to get bogged down on the agendas that other people are setting, because we don't have the power. there is a steamroller in town, like I said many times before. So the question is, this whole Martin Niemöller thing that you often say, a lot of people play dodge the steamroller to the last minute, and that's entirely understandable as a survival strategy. You're looking after yourself and your immediate family and friends.
But it's like standing 100 yards away from that steamroller.
Help contribute.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a bit delayed. That's why I must have been talking over you. But you're like 100 yards away from that steamroller that's coming, Alex, and you can see it's coming, and it's a steamroller, and people are just stood in front of it going, ah, instead of let's do something. And I get it. It's not an easy thing to do. But I don't know what solutions you want. You're waiting for other people to make these solutions, and those people who aren't affected by it won't bother about it. And again, the Martin Niemöller thing is creeping about everywhere, because if collectively we can see this, but collectively we can't organise to do something about it, then that's their game. They know that we can't organise. Excuse me, and they know that people on their own turning up into these courts, they're going to be able to bamboozle them and just ignore them. When you're told, when you've got them into a corner where everything points to council tax being a commercial property tax, and they can come back with at this moment in time, your property's capable of being commercial. I'm not listening to anything anymore. What do you do with that? Where do I go to get remedy for that? I appeal it. It goes to High Court. They do that. You've got to start again. You've got to then take another 2 to 3 years to get to that point again and hope for a new judge who's going to turn another judge's decision over on council tax, which they are applying inappropriately and just committing fraud and using it to steal people's property. For a tax that is not applicable to 98, 99% of property, it's fraud, it's theft, and all they're going to do is say, well, you said this because you registered your property. We just presumed. So that means you've got to now go in and rebut everything that they mention. And if you don't rebut it, it stands. And if you've not rebutted something that they're standing under, the judge knows that, and the judge isn't going to help. So this means that people, individuals, have got to go and do that due diligence. You can't rely on people telling you, just change your meters right, because it's all free. That's not true. I was sick of saying it 10, 15 years ago, and it's the same stuff again now. You've got to understand there's a bigger picture. It's not about getting away with not paying bills. It's about balancing books. It's about balancing accounts. The money's already been spent. Your taxes are taken by HMRC, given to the people, the 450 MPs that you employ, and they form a government to make sure that the infrastructure is paid for and managed and maintained. You've paid for that. You've grafted. You've been taxed. You don't pay again. You use that slip so that they can balance the books. That means it'll lower national debt, but we're taught to pay our bills. So we're taught to constantly make the national debt worse. They know that, but they're still willing to play the game, and all the agents are willing to play the game. Why? Because the courts back them. We know personally with what they're doing with those warrant applications, Alex. They're just bundling them. You're meant to say, yes, we want a warrant under the 1954 Gas Act because, but that's not what's happening. They're just saying, we want a warrant under that act. Oh, okay, bump. That's not how you do. That's not how you do business. But because of the presumption, and nobody goes and challenges it with remedies, they just go in there and say, I have no contract or things like that. You might as well just not bother. And that's why we're in this position.
Why don't we try and I suppose, boil it down to something. Now, so obviously, you know, because you encountered the legislation, specific legislation that they introduced, where the council tax is levied only upon commercial properties. Now, presumably, that's still in place, intact as was. So, if people could access that even online, so that it was quotable, chapter and verse from the document, and then they wrote to their council almost like pleading ignorance, like they didn't know, they'd just been told that, or they discovered that council tax, according to this regulation here, is not applicable to domestic dwellings. Now, because the ruling that was made fairly high up in the court system, any clerk dealing on a local level, going to his senior and the senior above him, is probably going to have, it's going to take them a long time to get access, but they would have to go and invoke that particular case that got refuted, so-called, by a judge who said, is it capable of being used as a shop? If they can't do that, then you would win, presumably, because the council wouldn't be able to prosecute it. But if they thought, right, well, actually, we'll dig this information out, and now we're gonna sort of prosecute on this basis, you can still plead ignorance that you read it somewhere, and it seems to say in black and white, this, I'm in a domestic, I'm reading it here, and it says, you don't seem to have changed the law in line with what happened in the court to make it clear in black and white that if it's capable of being used as a shop, it is commercial, which is the only way a member of the public reading it could come to that conclusion reasonably. Otherwise, reading the legislation as is, the conclusion would have to be, well, this is domestic that I'm living in, and this jurisdiction is commercial. So then it would create a real problem if people did that. And I'm presuming that this information is available within a quotable document that people could go to their council and make that exact case.
That's where they rub the shoulders, mate, because when we did that with the council told me that my property is wholly domestic, not commercial at all. It's wholly domestic. That's what my council told me. But when you want to prosecute the council, they say it's nothing to do with us. It's the Valuation Office Agency that gives all the ratings out. So you've got to get in touch with them up at Newcastle Way, and that's where you start. And then you have to go back to the court, bring the council involved and say, look, this rating's on commercial properties. If it's this size of a property, it's this kind, because you can store potentially more commercial stuff in a bigger property. So that's all it is. It's all basic bloody commerce. And if you're using gas, water and electric to invite people into your shop and it's already been paid for, well, because you run a shop, you are a debtor, you must pay. But the factor is that everybody who works in these councils at local level, even their own houses, they know they haven't got a shop there, but they can't join the two, Alex.
But
it's like that can't fit, and it can't fit because they'll feel stupid that they've been doing this. Because when I understood it, I thought, how stupid have we been? How stupid were my parents to not know this? Why were they paying bills that they shouldn't be paying under the bills of exchange? And people just go, well, what's bills of exchange? This is why we're in this mess. Financially, we are in a mess because we've been taught to act in a certain way that gives away all our rights, gives away all our properties legally. And then it's only when you stand there and go, hang on a minute, but it's at that point, if you can't break that jurisdiction and they're not going to let you, they're going to circle the wagons, you've got to break through. And that was the point of having numbers. A man on his own finds it very difficult when you've got the police helping the council and the judiciary are helping the council as well. This is where...
Thing is, though, Paul, here, what you said when you first answered what I said was that if we want to prosecute the council. But my argument is we don't need to prosecute the council.
It's not council policy, it's government policy. So we have to We have to prosecute our own government. It's the same with all the new
Right,
energy bill.
again, Paul, I think that's overcomplicating it. So the point I'm making is just dead simple. If there is a legislation that you can point to and it says council tax is not applicable on domestic dwellings, and then you take that law and you just write a letter to your council in kind of feigned ignorance. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, because from what I'm reading here, you don't pay council tax on domestic property. This is domestic property. Therefore, I'm proposing not to pay my council tax. Now, for them to action that, because it would be the council who would action that, they would have to begin proceedings against you on the basis of a law that you cited to them, which is enshrined in legislation. And so I can't see how they can refute that legislation. They'd have to escalate, but how can they escalate? If they're prosecuting you and you force them to come for you, they'd have to escalate. So
well, that's where what they're doing is they're making these fake liability orders up. They're calling the police, who are turning up and helping them anyway, and they're just going to do that to pressure and take people's property, because they can't go the official route. We've been involved in cases recently, Alex, where these people who've made a claim, they can't go to court with it because they have nothing. But they'll still send people. They'll still send letters. That's what we're up against. To stop that, you could get to what do you call it? A Mexican standoff, where they leave you alone and you leave them alone. What I was saying is, I get what you're saying about complicating it, but to make changes, everything now points to the government. There's no point going after British Gas or Eon or anybody like that, because their policies aren't their policies. It's public policy now. And that's what they've done. And what happens is, when me or you, Alex, make a stand against these people, because they want to drag us into that jurisdiction, they're putting us in an adversarial position against our actual self. It's so stupid how they have to presume everything. And to correct it, it's got to be done paper-wise. Or the alternative is, pitchforks at dawn type stuff. They're only giving us those solutions now. We've got to try the courts and see what happens there. But the courts are pretty locked up at the minute, mate. And they've only got to start shutting things off to cause a bit more chaos.
Well, if let's just let's just come back to it. If one person watching tonight thought, okay, I just want to know what this legislation is, I'm going to write to my council.
Section 3 Local Government Finance Act 1992. It says that there is no list, nor is there a list required to show any property to be exempt from non-domestic rates. So that means a list that should show property that is exempt from non-domestic commercial ratings doesn't exist, and there's no need for one. Why? Because all property is registered as commercial, or at least can be commercial, and they just leave it to the rest of the people to just pay what they're told. And most of the people do. It's only now that it's being challenged that they're coming to a bottleneck, Alex. They've got to see it out, because if we break it, everything comes unravelled for them. It's just if there's going to be enough people that can do that. We're in a race at the minute. You can see it, can't you? We're in a race against time. We're in a race about the people who are still alive. For how long, I don't know, especially if people start going for 7th, 8th, 9th boosters. They're saying that there's going to be a test now, Alex, where you can test when you need your booster. Bonkers.
Yeah. Well, that's the other side of it, isn't it? This is precisely the issue. How far do we action things, and how far do we sit on our hands? Now, I think a lot of that depends on a life lived. It's how do you weigh the pros and cons? How do you get the distribution right between self-preservation, self-protection, self-defense, going on the offensive,
Mm.
when you need to. So I'm not sure how individuals will address those questions. For me, my position tends to be that now I'm pretty much clear that I know where my lines are. As soon as they come for me, then I'll have to make a decision. Until that point, I'll live in my life as normal. Now, that's Nearmuller's position, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the position that they want everybody in. If people aren't in fear, if they're not aware of something that's going on, then it's easier for them to be captured. It's just like they've been so slow with it. But when I was looking at it 10, 15 years ago, I could see what they wanted to put in place, but I thought there'd be too much in the way for them to do it. People I always thought, would switch on to go, oh, hey, you've moved a bit quick there. I thought COVID was just too quick, especially when we were getting information where they were saying nothing's mandatory, but then you had different all these businesses trying to make it mandatory, but the government's saying, well, that's up to them. That's their own company. We're not saying it, but then people were being challenged about the jobs. We saw in certain industries, certainly the caring industry and NHS, that people would lose the jobs if they didn't have vaccines. I have a family who felt they were forced. They had no choice but to have 3 jabs to keep the job. They're not well, but they're now asking for flu jabs. My family members have been stopped 3 times in December. Hey, we're doing flu jabs today. No, I don't want any more. But what's coming then? Are we going to start arguing about this again? We've seen what happened. If you had 6 people in your house instead of 5, your neighbours were grassing you up. This is the Martin Niemöller thing. We're right in the middle of it.
I
But
wonder.
nobody wants to pay gas, water, and electric. Nobody wants to pay council tax, but they don't know what to do about it. And until we get that conversation going, and it's not these bit conversations where you just think that you can change meters and not tell anybody and just think that that'll be okay, that they'll never come back round for you. You can get to these stalemates and they'll walk away. I know people who've not paid council tax 10, 15 years, but it's always still there because they're going to want something out of it, but they just know that that's too much right now. Let's do something else. It's that old thing. We don't have to keep warring and fighting here. Let's pretend we've gone. Let's pretend we've left them. And it just causes all this division because people think that they've won then, but then something else happens. So it's like people don't get that reality. It's always a false dawn. I never wanted the false dawn, Alex. I had the remedy. Let's go in, let's do this. Straight, man to man, let's go and do this now. And I just saw how they covered it up. And that's why I said, please, people, go and get this gyro and challenge your agents. Challenge them under what are they claiming you are. If they're claiming that you are a customer and they tell you you're our customers, a customer is a debtor in a debt-based economy. So you've got to correct all this, and you've got to do it by being in a courtroom and directing the judge and knowing what you're talking about. That's the difficult part, because it's not like watching a TikTok video and just standing there saying, I'm a man, I have no contract. Oh, well done. Let's not pay for our gas anymore. It's not going to work like that. It's time that people have got to switch onto it. And I'm seeing a lot of people switching onto it, but they're still not going for that remedy. Now, it sounds like I just banged the drum just about that. Somebody give me a check, and they said the money attached to that check I owed them. And all I had to do was sign it, date it, and give it them back. What else do I want to argue about? It was simple for me, mate.
Yeah, well, obviously, this is a really complex situation, and there's a reason why things are happening. And look at our audience is mostly British, I know we've got at least one, obviously, Taylor outside of the UK. But if you remember the Deagle stats from 2017 to 2025, proportionally speaking, the UK was the one that took the biggest hit. You know, it was like our population reduction was to like under a quarter. Even the United States was only a third. That was the next in line.
42 million, Alex. 42 million people we'd have to lose in 2025.
I think it's more than that. It's more like 52. Because it was something like 64 million coming down to 14 million.
Yeah, it was down to 15 million. So if we had 67 million, 52
it was
million.
Less than a quarter.
Yeah, 52 million people have got to go.
Not even a quarter of the population left. America went down from 300 million to 100 million, 99.5 million. So that's only America's going down to a third. We're going down to less than a quarter. There's no other nation being as powerfully pressed upon. And I kind of wondered if it's because we were the heart of empire. And what they're doing is they're destroying all the old traditional cultures. And we're older and more ancient and foundational to the United States. So we're getting properly battered. And I'm not sure how representative the British perspective is. I was watching a video this morning with this guy, just briefly, about 15 minutes long, talking about how bad it is in this country now compared to America and many other places. And he was just saying to everyone, if you can, leave this country because it's been hollowed out. It is absolutely being decimated, particularly anything north of Birmingham. And it doesn't seem as if much is going to stop it happening. There's a rot that's set in. And in this country, we're copping it more than any other country in the world. So is that slightly distorting, I wonder? Are others not? If you just look at it on that level rather than, say, the spiritual level and, you know, the Christian perspective, say the universal one, then is there a case for saying we're just particularly unlucky to live in this country and emigrate?
I don't know where you go to. I mean, this is the financial hub of everything that's going on. I think what we've seen with our history, with the Tartarian stuff and everything, the old world order, and I don't think it's that long ago, Alex, but the old world order is being erased out of history.
Yeah.
And we're looking at what this new world order is. And we've seen this push from all these factions that are causing all this trouble. But we're also seeing that all these factions have fundamental links still, not only through those financial things, but for what they want to implement. So I see that all these nations are all in for the same pot. You know, they aren't individual nations that are rising and falling and challenging. That's not that. We're beyond all that. World War II and III united these countries through secret societies, through religion, through government. All you've got to do is look at our own history. World War I and II, what they did. After that, the education system, being taught to act as a debtor in a debt-based economy. That's life. And then we've been given all that prosperity, Alex, and we've ended up with a nation of softies. You know, there's nobody that's just going to go, I've had enough. It's, is there anywhere I can hide? That's where we're at. You know, it's not about being hard and going out and fighting. This isn't a flesh and blood fight. This is a spiritual battle that is being played out in real life. If we start going fighting by the sword, then that's how we finish. So we've got to be different. We've got to be better than we've been in the past. Otherwise, we go back into the rinse and repeat cycle.
Yeah.
And we can't do that anymore. I mean, why is Elon Musk, who's President Trump's bum chumming all this? Why is he having a go at Keir Starmer and our government for rape gangs and child abuse and all this, when he doesn't even want to talk about Epstein and the photographs with him and Ghislaine Maxwell and all this stuff? We're not to look at that because we've got to look at our government and Keir Starmer now, because Keir Starmer was head of the CPS when Jimmy Savile got away with everything, and all this is going on. Now we want Keir Starmer out, but we've still got the Labour government, so it doesn't matter. But you get Keir Starmer out, and all of a sudden people think we're in for a win here. Or it's even better if you can create something that is shaking the government that much, where some bloke like Nigel Farage says, here I am. And then they come in like a knight on a shining horse, and I'm going to save the world, but this is what we've got to do. You know, you're going to have to give up this, this, and this to make sure we put all this together, but it's not going to be forever.
Have you seen what Beer Guy said a few times in the chat here? He just said, get me on in 5. Sorry if I'm spamming, but I've got to share what I'm doing with the council. Well, that looks like a testimonial of actual action, which could be quite interesting.
Yeah, no worries. Can come on in when we put it out. But yeah, it seems to be very, very nuts and bolts that's going on at the minute.
Yeah.
Then you've got all these drone things that are going on. You've got the Pope opening portals in the Vatican that haven't been opened before. There's things that are happening, and it's all to do with symbology, and all that symbology that the Roman Catholics use are all from Babylon. It's the Noahide laws, the rabbinic laws. We're talking about the Pharisees. We're talking about old world orders looking at the new world. And there's nothing new. It's just different. There's nothing new here, Alex. It's the same old thing. You know, somebody's got daddy issues and he wants to go back up and shout at him and be better than him. It's what we all live through. We've got rejection issues, we've got abandonment issues, we've got mummy issues, daddy issues. Why? Because none of us know who the bloody hell we are. You know, work hard, pay your bills. Why? Because that's life. Everybody does it. Well, does it? I know everybody does it, but is it the right thing to do? Well, that's a strange question. Everybody does it. Well, everybody used to sacrifice the firstborn child to Moloch to hope that we had a good harvest. Give us prosperity. That was normal, but we frowned upon it at some point when we grew up. But now we're stuck in this. It's like people cannot be humble and just go, you're right, I don't know about that. So I'm not going to call you an idiot. I'm not going to call you stupid. I'm going to go and look at it. I'm going to do my due diligence. And if you do the due diligence and you come up with a different ending, different meaning to it, come back and tell the rest of us and debate it. How many times do we talk about iron sharpening iron, Alex? You know, come back and talk about it. Don't go away and rubbish what other people are saying until you've brought yours forward. But we've got so many people who've got bigger platforms who are saying, no, it's this way, no, it's that way. And that's not true. That's not true. You can't, there's nothing that you can point at like that. You've got to have the conversation because we've got the worst lies that you could ever have because it's littered with truth. And you've got to pick all the truth out of it. And that takes time. But when you're doing a 40-hour week, possibly even more now, because most people I know are doing 2 jobs a piece to keep up with 1 job each. Never mind 1 job that just used to pay for everything.
Just got to interject here because we just got a line from More Credit, who often posts about the Christian message. But there's like a mixture, obviously, of More Credit's Christian faith and saying that if I believe I'm Alex Brocklehurst, I am incorrect. Now, normally the people who say this are the New Age consciousness monists who say there is no differentiation. So what they are, the non-dualists. So people who say that tend to be classically non-dualist because everything is just some manifestation or expression of this core oneness. And the goal then is for us to realize that this ego construct that we associate with a name, that is an illusion, and we're all like just a single drop in the cosmic ocean. It's pure New Age. So I just have to say, well, you know, if More Credit if you believe that, from a metaphysical perspective, you know, I am Alex Brocklehurst. That's the name that I was christened by my mum and dad. I'll settle for that. And it's the best label of self-referencing that I've got for myself. Obviously, we're all much more complex than the name or the label that we use. But I mean, that's so obvious as to not even need stating. So I don't understand the point. I don't understand the point of saying that if somebody thinks that they are the name that they're referenced by, well, obviously you're not your name. When you look in the mirror, you see a reflection of yourself. It's a representation of you, but it isn't you. It's a reflection. But that's what we deal with, you know.
Well, I can see we're going back to all the legal stuff again, but like I said, for the legal, I would just be Paul of the family Webster, or whatever, however we've now been taught that this is. The factor is the birth certificate, the Vatican contracts, construct, and everything. It all falls into perfect place if I'm recognised, if I'm alive. I don't know how to do that, because then I would just pick up my Monopoly piece when I went into a shop and I would go, I am not Mr. Paul Webster. I am not Paul Webster. I am Paul. I'm a man. But today I want a Mars bar, so Mr. Webster's engaging in commerce. That for me makes sense, like a Monopoly game. I get into the game and I'm out of the game. I can understand that. You know, Jacob's Ladder, entering in and out of this realm. It's not that I'm not of this world, but I'm in it. You know, I've got to operate somehow. So to sit around and start telling people, oh, you're not your name and stuff like that, it's going to complicate things for people. Don't get me wrong, it's something that you should go and read and understand. But for people who can't understand the difference between acting in the public and acting in the private when they're just going into a shop, they're not going, that's too much. It's just going to blow their head off.
Yeah, so, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, in Exodus 3, God said, I am. But he didn't own a property. He didn't have to pay council tax. So, you know, some of our questions are more abstract and some of them are more concrete. And we can decide whether we want to go down the I am route. Like, I am not constrained or defined by name. I'm totally free of all labels, which is the essence of it all. Or whether we acknowledge the pragmatic dimension that we're living in a construct that's largely not formulated by ourselves and that we're forced to, on some levels, compromise with it. If not be totally conformed to it, that we can at least have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, like you said, Paul. But at the end of the day...
What did the disciples do when this... Right, you need to go and get us some food for this feast. They've gone and engaged in commerce. It was the Greek commerce then. So they're engaging in commerce. They're not going to start arguing about whether I'm a man or I've got a contract. But they're still engaging in that commerce. Jesus' disciples did that. He didn't. But we've got to expose this. We've got to open it up and say, well, how would this work? If we don't need it and we can get rid of it and we can operate a different way, let's bring all our ideas together and see. But for me, it's we were talking years ago about building an alongside system and slowly transitioning. Whereas I could see I've got a check in this system that makes a difference because gas, water, and electric are suddenly not on your radar. You're not looking at your bank account saying gas, water, and electric's got to come out of that because my tax is already paid for it. And I never look at see how much tax has gone. I just look at how much wage is in there. So for me, it was simpler to teach people that, to get them to understand it, and then change what we're doing with the system. Because the system, for me, would actually work in a commerce type situation if everybody was not committing fraud and things like that. But you've got the people who are running the system, especially on the coal face, they haven't got a clue about it. So I can't disagree with all what they're saying, but this is where we're at. You know, okay, you're not the surname, you're not Paul Webster. The Webster's this name that's given to you. I understand it, but you go and tell your neighbour that. You might as well not bother speaking to them about it. Give it to them that they can understand. You've got to start the conversation off first before you start talking about things like that. But it can get frustrating because when I wanted to talk about things like that, people didn't understand it. They didn't even understand that I had a check. So if they can't understand somebody sending me a check, I don't get that. Well, this is why you've got to read it. No, I've got a life. I'm
Yeah,
too busy. I've got to do this, that, and the other. So it's easy to sit around with stuff that you've been able to sit down and research and understand, but then you go and try and act it. You know, I was in these courts for a decade, Alex. You go and try and act it with case law, see case law turned over, and then somebody turn around to you and say, well, that's because you use that Webster. You know, you don't need that. You don't need people like that. You need people to say, well, if we'd not done that and we'd done this, this would work. Brilliant. Are you going to go and do that? Oh, well, oh, you know, stop giving the advice and go and do it. Make it easy for everybody because one win. That's why with a check, Alex, I thought you can't lose with a remedy. Under the bills of it, you can't lose with a remedy. And that's where I knew they were going to lock down the fraud that they're committing. So that me on my own is no good. But you put 100 people in there saying the same thing, what are they going to do? They're going to have to come and meet you on the battlefield. And if you've taken that to them and they can't come back with anything, it's like you said earlier on, Alex, it's done. But nobody's doing that. We're all still arguing about it.
yeah. I mean, for me, what the vital question here, and the only way I can see, much as I just disagreed with the point about the name, I do agree that you have to essentially live in the private most of the time, and that's I think that's obvious, but it's an important point to reinforce and double down on. Now, what I'm interested in, when we're told, but those of us who are left, who are believers, because make no mistake, if you're not, and the tribulation comes, good luck. I wish you well. But for those who are believers, when it says, come out of her, my people, is this whole discussion a central part? Is it a fundamental part of that? Because there are so many ways in which we are being oppressed. So there's a total banking system, the very reality of money. I mean, Babylonian, the whole thing is about commerce and trade and everything. The whole way we transact business, the whole way we survive. Also, the mark of the beast is it actually stops people from functioning. It's cutting off your supply to continue to live now, which is usually an imperative of self-preservation. And in law, we have the right of self-defense. So generally speaking, even in the Judeo-Christian ethical traditions, I don't think it was ever accepted that if someone was just going to come and kill you and your family, you just let them. So there has to be some sort of understanding of proportionate force to stop them doing it. So clearly a system is coming for you. Clearly it's going to close all loopholes and all nets for any alternative way of living. It's going to totally dominate health. It's going to totally dominate the food chain. And a big part of that process that's been in place probably for a lot longer than these things that we see now has been this gas, water and electric and council tax thing creeping in. Now, they're all a species of this problem. But the question for me is, coming out of her, my people, does it involve us actually saying, right, well, I am going to directly smash all this down. I am going to come out of this system. I'm going to challenge it every step of the way, because if I don't, then I'm still delusionally blind and bound by the system. So the question here is one of awareness. If a powerful delusion is sent, as per 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, does that mean that those who are aware and awake in Christ and recognize it by, say, the Spirit, that they will cotton on to absolutely everything? They will then be obedient. They will challenge the system. They will live completely differently. And it'll be a radical thing. And it will be an expression of your discipleship that's non-negotiable. Because if that's the case, there's virtually no Christian on earth who's living it to that level. So it's not clear to me where the line is. And let's explore a little bit what coming out of Babylon actually means in practical terms in the light of the number of the beast that we see in Revelation 13 and Revelation 17.
Well, for me as well, Alex, it comes down to what, you know, we're stuck on what is a woman, right? But I want to know, what is a Christian? 700 Christian religions, they all believe in Jesus, but believe different things. So when people say, I'm a Christian, and I say I'm a Christian as well, people will go, "Are you Catholic? No. Are you CV? No. Well, what denomination are you?" Well, I'm not. I'm a follower of what the word says. And that's why, my best friend who teaches RE says, "You've got a strange take on the Bible." And it's because I've read it. And it's not what they preach in any of the churches I've ever sat in. A friend of ours who stayed at the church that I went to and heard about the millennial reign and then the pre-trib rapture, and I just went, "I've had enough. I'm out of there." That guy has then sat for more and more services, and he's gone to the pastor and said, "Look, what you're teaching is not scriptural." They've ended up having a meeting and banning him from the church because he's pointing to scripture, because it goes against what they teach, because they're happy to mingle everything. We'll have a Christmas party. We will have the Halloween party, and we will put Easter eggs and bunnies out because we want everybody to be part. Well, that's mixing and mingling. We're told not to do that. That's scriptural. So if being a Christian is following the word of God, how can you then claim you're a Christian? So have I now got to identify myself as a follower of the word, follower of Jesus Christ? Because Christian seems to just cover everything. And, you can even just turn up once a week and do what you want for the rest of the week. It doesn't matter about anything. That lukewarmness that's being taught, people on top of that won't be here for any troubles, Alex, which again isn't scriptural. You start to worry because you can see that the structure of this world is collapsing. Everything's collapsing. They're just trying to steal as much physical wealth and leave all the debt and then come in with the remedies afterwards. Now, come out of her, my people, will be, if you want this, you have to do this. Now, if you are investing in this world to make you happy and make everything all right, when I've invested in this world and I've watched this world steal everything, despite me being right with remedies in court, it didn't matter. They just took everything. So I can't rely on any men. I can't rely on people. So if push comes to shove, and if you've got then a system that says there's only one God and you must only worship this God, but this God now has a statue type figure and you worship it, that would be an idol. Well, they don't want you to do that. But if you then say, well, Jesus was God, that's idolatry under this Noahide. So that means that the system is going to come after you anyway. So we have no choice, Alex. It's not that we're going to just come out of the system because, Jesus said, you're in the world, but you're not of it. Well, I have to operate. I have to live peaceably with men. What am I meant to do? I'm meant to expose. Well, we just got to keep doing that to the best of our abilities until we can't anymore. I mean, let's be honest, if they turn the internet off, it's going to mess a lot of us up. So we've got to just keep doing what we're doing daily, day by day, because everything actions from that daily basis. If we were all recognised just as men, and the only time we recognised each other as a person was in commerce, it makes black and white sense. So any time that anybody talks to a Mr., Miss, Mrs., they're offering you something. They're offering you an agreement or a potential contract. But the fact that you know not to participate in. But when you're ringing somebody up and you're giving them 2 bits of details just so they can access your account and you've agreed everything and that system's set up that way, then you just keep feeding yourself back into it. But what do you do? What do you do when there's nothing? We've got to talk about that. There's no point just keep saying, don't do this, stop acting that way. We should all stop acting that way, but how? How do we all stop it? How do we all change it? There's no point shouting and arguing with each other. We've got to just come together and talk, get a conversation going. And then iron will definitely sharpen iron. We get it all. but it's what can we do? You know, my next door neighbours pay bills all their life. How do you tell them to stop paying bills because it's in your surname? It's not going to make sense to them. Whereas when you go with balancing the books, I mean, I was only a football treasurer, but I knew if I bought 5 new footballs out the football money, I had to put a receipt back. Well, they've spent me money on an infrastructure and they've got to account for every penny. So they send bills out for you to account for it until you don't know what you're doing. But my agent always sent me the correct gyro. They didn't send me a paying-in slip. They sent me a cheque until they didn't. And that was when Santander says we're not going to issue them anymore. So now you've got to go and sue your agent to get that. But you've got to know why. And it's all based on the presumption that you operate as a debtor in a debt-based economy from your shop. And because that shop's been registered in a certain way and you're taught to act in a certain way, all that's on presumption. So you've got to stop acting as that person. You've got to rebut all that. And if they can just cover their ears, Alex, and say, I'm not listening to you, what are you left with?
Oh, yeah. The question of what do we do now?
Well, that's what's up. That's where we're up to with people. I mean, they are fighting back. You know, just recently I've seen another house taken back off security. The people are fighting back. People are putting some really great paperwork in. You know, there's been an adjournment for a house possession for 12 months. Now, that looks like that's a pretty good win, but it gives them 12 months to reassess things as well and see what angles have they got that haven't been addressed. Is it watertight? This is what we're up to. But fortunately, there's a lot of good minds switching on to all the different types of aspects of law that are all mixed in with the commercial stuff. So it's not just about liens. It's not just about contracts. It's not just about commerce. You're talking a spattering of everything, but it's being applied to a man and a woman. Well, you're making a claim against a person, and then you turn up and you say, I'm not that person, and they just go, oh well, we'll just carry on and as if you're not here then. So it's, again, you can't just go in and think that'll work. Just challenge your counsel and put them onto a stalemate. You'll get little breathers and wins here and there, Alex, definitely. But it's to try and end this. You know, we know that this has got to get worse before it can get better. But how many people down the line do we go? How many people have got to, you know, if there's 20 people living in a close, how many of those 20 people have got to have been dealt with before somebody goes, we should do something? And then you're talking to your mate next door and he's going, well, what should we do? Well, I don't know. And then there's a knock on your door. That's where we're at. I mean, 10 years ago, I thought you had loads of time. But then COVID happened. And then you saw all the players, Bill Gates, telling you that he wants to depopulate through reproductive healthcare and vaccines in 2009. And he's investing in vaccines because pandemics are going to be the bad one. Then we have this pandemic that's not a pandemic, it's just flu. Ordinary flu cases that people have died from every year, but it's on telly and everybody's thinking about it. And that was enough to make Asda's Ugandan security guards think that they can arrest you almost and put your arm up your back and because you've gone the wrong way down the frozen food section. And people were allowing this. So what comes next, Alex? You know, are you going to go and get your vaccine so that your anus isn't devoured by some virus, pal? Because I don't know what to say if that is one of the worrying factors in your life.
Yeah. Well, how many people will fall for this? I mean, you never know now because there's that many false dawns or that many, you know, ways in which they hint at it through the media. And you're never sure now. That's part of the game. They'll decoy you here, throw a curve here, and so on and so forth. So it seems as if people have mentioned a lot of times another lockdown and new vaccines and all this, but it's not happened yet. So it's not clear to me what their strategy is, because obviously they try to wrong foot us all the time. And when they're doing that, it's very, very difficult to plot the coordinates. You can obviously, you can make some decent guesses, but we're literally just waiting to see what they do. At what point will they next take a really radical approach, and just steamroller again? Because they can't do that every 2 minutes. And obviously, they've waited now a few years since the last debacle. So, it could well be imminent. But then they might drag it out for another 2 or 3 years. Who knows? Just keeping us on tenterhooks.
Well, I think something's got to happen this year, Alex, with the way they're building up. The variants, the masks, turbo cancers, they're coming up with all kinds that is causing cancer now. And the most ridiculous one that I've seen is that a surgeon was operating on a cancer patient and caught cancer off them. If you just even look at the basics of the biology of it, it's just, what's going on here? Are people really just going to take this because they've got a white coat on? I know people who've got white coat syndrome, mate. If somebody in a white coat tells them, they believe it. If I tell them, it's not true. But if somebody puts a white coat on and says the same thing, they believe it. So, something's got to give this year, Alex. They can't put us in another lockdown and it'd be like 2020, 2021, because people have said they won't go into lockdown. Well, what happens if it's really bad? What happens if they step it up? What are we going to do about it? Them turning up at your house, Alex, and you saying, I'm a man, you can't do this to me, I have no contract with you or the government to have that injection. It's not going to work. Fighting these people, you're just going to get wrapped up and injected anyway. So how do we change this reality? We can't just go out and fight it because we can't organise. We don't know what to do with it. I'm running out of potential solutions, mate, because you need people to see a bigger picture than where we're at. The bills is like here, and it's all out here. It's not just the bills, it's the full picture of everything. The fact you register, you're meant to register this property into the trust that is looked after for you, so that, registering your child, it's so that that's my kid. No, he's my kid. No, this is my kid. Look, I've got the registration for him. This is my property. But when you are classed as being lost somewhere and your property's just being kept in a trust by trustees, then every time you challenge that trust as the person, you're in an adversarial position against yourself, and the government come onto your side and defend you. They defend your assets against you. So we have to unlearn so much and then be humble enough to go, wow, I've been duped. But it's so easy. It's so much easier to fool somebody than it is to show them how they've been fooled. I sat there, Alex, going, hang on, your gas is free. That can't be true. That can't be true. My mum would have told me that. My mum would have known that because she ran businesses. She wouldn't pay for anything she didn't have to. She used to make me not pay till the red letter. If you need something and it's not the red letter, don't pay it. Let them wait. So we played the game. And then to find out all that's not true, to find out all this fraud and everything is blatantly going on, and they're laughing at you, and the people that you vote into power have got allegiance to other people through secret handshakes than you, and they can lie under parliamentary privilege and tell you that they're going to do everything for you, and then they do nothing, and we all go, meh! It's beyond being childish anymore, isn't it, Alex? People have got to stop on the milk. They've got to start eating the meat and potatoes of this world.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would just mention, obviously, I don't, like, I used to explore a lot of astrological tools, as I mentioned before. But interestingly, on the 11th of January, for 18 months, the nodes of the moon changed sign from Aries Libra to Virgo Pisces. And what's interesting about that is the south node of the moon, which governs the past, that which comes from the past. And the north node is what is coming in the future. It's related to timings as well. When the nodal axis shifts for 18 months, it'll be within Virgo Pisces. Virgo being the south node, the sign of the Virgin. So it's like, the Virgin from the past, that we all know about, births into the sign of the fish, which is the present, the north node. It does seem to be a cosmic sign. There'll be signs in the heavens. Well, some of them are visible, but some of them are just going on, and we don't necessarily see them. And that's one of them. So I'd say that over the next 18 months, and of course this happens 9 days before Trump's inauguration. Then there's some stuff on the 28th of March with all these planetary alignments that are visible in the sky. So signs in the heavens, it's all in place. So I would say in the next 18 months, we're right on it. So my perspective is return of Jesus Christ guaranteed within 18 months.
Not the pre-trib rapture then.
Don't buy into any of that.
If he's coming back, mate, that's it. That's it. If he comes back, that's it. For everybody, it's where you're at. It's like doing your exam at school and that alarm goes, right, pens down, and everybody's still trying to finish what they were writing. No, pens down, pens down.
That's it.
But it's it's so drummed into people that they just can't be humble. I've always been able to humble myself because I won't argue with somebody about something when I don't know what they're talking about properly. There's no point debating it just to look like I know what I'm talking about when I'm obviously going to open myself up to questions that I'm not going to be able to answer. So it's about where you've got your information from. Most people we've all got the information from the same places: the education system, the media, our parents. And if our parents' information was tainted and the media's information's tainted and history's tainted and the education system's tainted and the politics and the banking and the judiciary, if all this is tainted, how can you sit there and say, I know everything? And, at some point, you'll be humbled, Alex, because you'll think you know something and you'll be brought to your knees with it. I've seen it. It's happened to me. You're on a caravan floor not wanting to be here. You're going to be pretty humble because there's no reason. You've not come up with this plan that you're going to be able to enact and fix this and fix that. And that's where I'm going, because there's nothing that I want in this world anymore, because this world's just it's like you're born into this world, you put this pair of shoes on, you walk in this world, but your object is to get these shoes off and get different shoes on and go on a different path. But we're all born into this fallen world, and the objective is to get out. And some people think we can do it ourselves. Well, that's the oldest lie. You can be your own God. Isn't that what he said? He didn't say you'd die. He said you'd be like gods, didn't he?
So some people think he's already here, like more credit, which of course is completely unbiblical. He's not, because that's not how it works. But there's a good example of making up your own faith as you go along, which has got nothing to do with the Bible. Not to be too harsh, but those are just the facts. And the thing about that is, there are certain scriptural positions that we can't just, we can't ignore. We can assert whatever we want. But Jesus isn't here now. It's as simple as that.
It's hard to work out, especially over a text message and things like that. It's hard to work out what people's theology actually is. People have said to me, "Yeah, I'm a Christian," and then when you actually speak to them, some of the stuff they talk about is not biblical. It's not in the scriptures, and if it's not in the scriptures, I'm not gonna go down that route because it's the only truth that I've found, and it changed my life. Again,
Hey, look, here we are. Here we are, Paul. You're identified as Paul Webster. He's a fraud, and Jesus is in More Credit's heart. So that's case closed then. You fraudulent dog.
See, the thing is, it's not about identifying as. It's using that monopoly piece. It's using my little sports car. It's using my little dog. That's Mr. Paul Webster, and I don't identify as that. But it's my monopoly piece. It's my counter. It's my gold coin that John Wick has to get into that hotel. That's what I can use in this system. So I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying.
What, that we're living in sin? Yous are living in sin.
We're all in sin. You can't get out of it.
Yeah, no, but by using the surname. I mean, how far do we want to take this? I mean, is that just make up? It's like make up your own personal.
That's why you don't participate in the system, isn't it? You pull out of this system. Well, you pull out of this system. That means your gas, water, and electric. You've got to deal with it because they don't want you out of that system. So you have to deal.
It's getting interesting, Paul. It's interesting, mate. I've got to show evidence that I am Alex Brocklehurst. What is that? I mean, we're talking about a level of absurdity here. I think I'm going to have to call you out on that, More Credit, because you're just talking gibberish. So if you want to up the ante about that and get clear about it, let's have at it.
Again, I can understand what angle he's coming from, but give us a solution then. Give us the solution to how people still are operating in this world. How do we do it? If it is really that simple, what evidence do you want?
It's just gobbledygook, Paul. It's just gobbledygook.
What evidence you want?
I mean, at the end of the day, where is your evidence? Evidence of what?
I've no idea. A lawful document.
A lawful document. What? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
So we're all showing up here, and some of us are showing up as a bit of text, and two of us at the moment are showing up on a screen. That's not us. I mean, at the end of the day, why are people related to an image of me on a screen? Why are they not demanding that I meet them in a pub? And then why are they not, doing a DNA test, to check that I am the person that I claim I am?
Yeah, but you're on a video, Alex. So is that actually you, or is it a video of you?
Exactly. This is you. Yeah, well, this is the point. This is exactly the point when you look at Neptune in astrology, which is also prominent in March. It asks the question, what is real? An image of yourself in a mirror, is that you that you're looking at? On a video, we all know when we pick up a phone, it's better to hear a voice than nothing. That's better than a text message. We know a video call's better because you get more information, but it's 2D. A lot of people started going online under lockdown, and it was better than nothing, but it's still not the same. But where do you draw the line? Does that mean people don't exist when you're not with them? I mean, it just becomes absolutely ludicrous.
We're going to Schrodinger's cat there.
Yeah. We're going. Everyone is Schrodinger's person. And while I'm not saying that quantum couldn't happen, and we might have some incredible epiphanies and breakthroughs, and suddenly, the Star Trek teleporter becomes real. Next thing you know, I'm going to turn up next to you on that sofa, Paul. Although you'll never walk alone, I'm not wearing that one. But yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, where do you draw the line? I mean, these things can get a bit, conflicty, can't they? And it's not about a personal thing, but sometimes you just object to certain statements. So they've got to be coherent. You've got to make a case. It's not just words.
Well, he's saying check the Bible. What part of the Bible should I check, and what is it related to? What scripture? I'm all up for that. I've posted the link in the chat room if anybody wants to come on and give their two penneth. I know the
Think
beer
beer
guy.
guy? Think the
know the
beer
beer
guy's
guy
probably
was
on
one of
it
them.
soon.
No takers as yet. Taylor must be having his tea or something. He's about 6-7 hours behind us, I think. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd have been on already. But yeah, it's been a bit more nuts and bolts with everything that's going on, because the people that we're talking about, who control all these contracts for names and birth certificates, they're only under control whilst people are lost at sea. If people took control of this, it would reset the trust to where you'd be the beneficiary, and any claim made against you would have to be proved. And that's not what we're getting. We're just getting arguments instead. And any claim made against you will have to be proved. Oh, they'll have to turn YouTube off, Rich. Getting arguments instead. That's better, mate.
Yeah, I've turned that off, but I can't hear on this now.
I can't help you with your technical stuff, mate. I've become a bit of a Luddite.
I'll try come back in 1 minute.
Right, so mate. Yeah, I can't keep listening to myself come back over YouTube, mate. But like I said, the link's in the chat room, guys. If you want to jump on, and if you've got some iron that'll help us sharpen this iron, don't just sit in the chat room. Come on and let's talk. Can you hear us, Rich?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Yeah.
Right, go ahead, mate.
Right. So, I'm hoping that I can look on my phone whilst I'm on about this. So basically, I've got the council now and the water in tacit acquiescence to the fact that I have fully paid both bills. So they sent me summons to court for non-payment of council tax. I endorsed the document and sent it back. They sent me an email about 3 days later or something, saying they've cancelled the court and they're going to send me a bill for the full amount. So council sent me the letter through, like £800 or whatever. I endorsed that document. I also put an allonge on there stating that my services can be available for settling of the national debt. So on the council tax bill, it says bill at the top, and it says bill date as well, because this is back and forth that I had at first. They're saying it's not a bill, that it's I don't know, some other term that they used, but they're trying to say that it's not a bill, even though it says council tax bill, and then it says bill date. So I endorsed the document without recourse, paid to the order of Richard Ashmore, all caps, by Richard Samuel Dean, Ashmore, and then agent. So as far as I'm concerned, I've paid in full. I sent them the document back, the bill back. I then sent that recorded delivery, so I know that it's been signed for and they've actually received it. Under bills of exchange, delivery is acceptance. So as soon as I sent them that bill back through the post, they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. It was already accepted. So then they've then sent me another letter back saying all this, it's not a bill, it's something or whatever they're trying to say. I then sent them a affidavit, an affidavit basically stating I need to speak to the CFO, give me the reasons why the CFO isn't responding, as this is the only person or individual that's duly authorised to deal with these matters. I sent that back through the post, and my point 4 was if I don't receive a response in a signed affidavit format within 30 days, then I can take it that our business is concluded and there's no reason for me to converse with you anymore. So they sent me a letter back. They mentioned one of the points on the whole affidavit that I'd sent them. They basically just accepted that that I've paid in full, and also they haven't got. They've now got the one that says pay to the order of, all caps name Richard Ashmore. So they're holding on to that. If they've chucked it or binned it or done whatever with it, shredded it, whatever, it's now classed as purloining negotiable instruments, which is an offence and can be they can go to prison for 7 years. So basically now I'm sending them another letter back saying thank you for letting me know that our business is now concluded. You can send payment to the Ensley sole proprietorship, all capitals name Richard Ashmore, and then I'm going to start putting terms and stuff around that. And then when they obviously fail to perform again, so technically what I'm doing, I'm creating a bill of exchange and I'm sending them another bill of exchange back. And what they should do then is sign it, put pay to the order of Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council by, and then I think her name's Susan or something, the CFO of the council, should then put her name on, sign it, agent at the bottom, or CFO of Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council, and then send me that back. And then now we're both holding each other's negotiable instrument. So then we can then go either to the bank or they call it the Bank of England discount window facility. So that's basically where companies go to go and sell all these loans and mortgages and all the other financial stuff. In the end, it ends up going to the Bank of England discount window facility, where they then get bought and traded, and SPVs and all this pooling and everything else that they do. But yeah, that's what I've done with the council. I've done the same with the water bill. So basically now they owe me. If they don't pay or if they don't perform, then I'm going to be taking them to Chancery Court. I have to rack up enough charges for it to get over. I think it's like a £10,000 threshold for them to even accept it into the Chancery division of the court. And then yeah, if they actually see the documents and stuff and the stuff that I've been doing, they'll understand if they know about bills of exchange, which is literally the thing that operates the whole monetary system. Then I can get my monies back off of them.
Okay, let me ask some questions, Rich.
Yeah.
If it's a bill, then you would be able to set it off. So you would be right, because there'd be some kind of way to do that. But they've told you it's not a bill. Now, if it's not a bill, that means it's an invoice of such, right? So if you've used water and they class that you living in a business, then they're going to charge you for using taxpayers' water because you could be making profit. the council tax comes under that same banner. I'm a bit iffy by being a debtor. Can you use that instrument to be able to do that? I've never done it myself, so you'd be teaching me something new. If you can take a debt instrument and change it into something, then sure, I'd love to see it done. Whereas when I didn't have a debt instrument, I had a credit instrument, and it was simple to understand. It was
Debt
dead
is
simple.
credit. Debt is
But
credit. Credit is debt.
writing your name as an autograph and doing it a certain way, and then going to court and suing them for that, then that would be interesting to see how that's done. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how that can be done. To be fair,
It's not. It's not an autograph. It's called. What it's called is a special and qualified endorsement. So, I've got. I think I'm sure I've sent you the picture of a completed mortgage document. So there's a completed mortgage document, and it says literally what I said: without recourse, pay to the order of, and then the all caps name of the business or the company, by, and then whoever the CFO or whoever deals with that type of stuff signs it, and then puts what position, basically acting as agent. So once all of it's finished, one sec, I've got my mate here. Give me a minute.
Have you actually been to court?
No, not yet, no. I cancelled the.
Have you been invited to go to court? A summons?
Yeah, you missed the beginning bit. Yeah, so they sent me a
Sorry.
council. They sent me a summons for non-payment of council tax. I endorsed the document, sent it back. 3 days later, they sent me a email. I don't even know how they got my email, but they said the summons has now been cancelled and we'll send you a bill for the full amount. So I was like, oh yeah, go on then. Didn't send anything back to them saying, oh yeah, go on then. I was just like, yeah, all right, whatever. And then yeah, I've now done the special and qualified endorsement, but instead of putting pay to the order of Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council, I put pay to the order of Richard Ashmore. What was the other question you had, Paul?
well, it's basically along the same thing. If your house is not liable for this tax because you've no revenue coming in, I don't. What are they going to pay you for? It's like you're going to get paid for nothing. Do you get what I'm saying?
I'm getting paid for performing.
Performing for what?
So evidence of a debt is consideration under bills of exchange. Evidence of a debt is
It's not though. That's what I'm saying. It's not evidence of a debt. It's not evidence of the debt. What they're giving you, it's an invoice. It's for services that you've used. You've opened a shop, and there's rules and regulations for shops, and the government's put them in place, and you've got to tick those boxes. And that's where I'm missing the point of how are they going to pay you for performing? I get what you're saying, but it's difficult from a debtor's point of view, from a shopkeeper's point of view, to act that way, to change a debt instrument into something like that when you're actually operating in commerce. Whereas I could understand it if, say, you'd paid it. So let's say they did it officially and correct. So let's say your council tax was £1,000. You paid the £1,000, but you're not liable, so then they should pay you back. I could understand that, but it's when you don't owe it, when you're not in a position where it's even applicable, when you interact with that and say, this is what I'm doing, then it muddies the waters for me, Rich. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I'm doing basically, so they're sending these out. Yeah, they're saying they're telling me that it's not a bill of exchange. They're saying it is like what you're saying, an invoice.
Yeah.
But the stuff that's on the document itself, it all points to that it's a bill. and it says council tax bill, and it says bill date. So if it's an invoice, why does it say the word bill? So it'd be council tax invoice or council tax whatever. But it
Because
doesn't. It says,
if it's an invoice, it's a demand for you to pay something.
yeah, that's what it is.
They
It's an
demand, if they
it's an
demand that payment and it's not applicable, then it can be in trouble. So if they mix it up and put bill in it and put it in a box, even it takes it off that page, and people still thinks it's part of that. So I'm just interested in what games they're going to play here, Rich. That's
Oh
all.
yeah, I know, but they've literally got one chance, and this is their last chance. And I'm going to put a separate piece of paper in there telling them what to do, because this is the first time it's ever been done, mate. This is the first time. I can guarantee this is the first time that it's ever been done in the UK.
Are you
Almost
sure?
certain. Almost certain. This is the first time it's ever been done. I ain't heard of anyone doing it before. You
God,
haven't heard of anyone doing it before.
God bless you, Rich. I hope you can do it, mate. I really
Yeah,
do. Because
Dave.
there's nobody else been taking it on, and if you're prepared to go to court and prove it, mate, that's
Oh,
up to you.
God bless you.
Dave Witcher says he thinks I'm doing the right thing.
Who
So
says?
Yeah, it's not. It's not about
Witcher.
thinking you're doing the right thing. I'll tell you now. If you go to court with this, what you said, they are going to own you. I will 100% guarantee. As soon as you walk in that courtroom, you're done. You are done. It's like when Paul went into court. He was ready for something that they wasn't ready for, and that's why he won. But what you're doing, I think people have. I don't know if they've done it before, but in my opinion, and I'm not being harsh to you, you've got to do that homework and be ready and prepared to go to that court and have a remedy
I'll,
to own them.
I'll tell you what, Richard, you certainly sound to me like you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing.
Mate,
Like I
I've spent the last
said,
10 years looking at this type of information. I've had enough now. I'm actually going to start fucking doing something. I've had enough. I'm fed up. So
that's
We all have.
that was the point. Well, like I said, Rich, I
yeah.
was sent a check under the bills of exchange. All I had to do was sign and date it, and it was done. That's all I needed to know was to sign and date that check and give it
Yep.
them back. My obligation's done. That's how easy it should have been.
And that's exactly how it is. It's now come to the point in time where they're not going to have the ability to be able to start refusing all this stuff.
But do you know about maritime law, Richard?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
You know about the Judas Campus law and maritime and common law
Yeah.
and everything. So, but if you're going to walk into their jurisdiction, I just hope you're ready, because I've done it. I've done it, and I got totally freaking owned. But that was like years and years ago. But this is a different situation, obviously.
I'm taking them to Chancery Court. I'm taking them to Equity Court.
Equity Court.
Yeah.
I've not heard of.
You're not heard of Equity Court, no?
No.
Chancery Court is called Chancery Court. So
Right,
basically,
right, okay. Yeah, I've heard of Chancery Court, but not Equity.
yeah, the same thing. Yeah. But yeah, they've either got this last chance, and I'm going to give them the extra piece of paper that's separate from it. I usually put paper clips on if I want it to be included with whatever I've sent them, but I'm not going to put paper clips on this time, so it's a separate document. So this is like a discretionary me talking as a man to a woman about what's actually happening, and if they don't understand it, I'm not going to be harsh and I'm not going to be a dick. I'm just asking them to do what they need to do, which is endorse a document and send it me back and put pay to the order of Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council, and then sign it all the same as what I signed it. Then they've got a bill of exchange negotiable instrument, and I've got a bill of exchange negotiable instrument.
got great courage, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
Somebody's
I
got to
really
do.
do.
Somebody's got to do it, Rich. Somebody's got
Yeah,
to make
I know.
this.
Yeah.
I know, mate.
It's so easy. Look, what people say. Well, why don't people just go and do it? It's not easy to go and do, especially when people have got they're married with 2 kids and they want to do something about it, but the wife doesn't want to do anything about it because of the fear aspect.
No.
It's not an easy thing to do, and
Yeah,
you are
and that's why I
going
live on
into
my own now.
you're going into uncharted territory. I mean,
Yeah.
G in the group saying that people have done it. Well, people aren't coming and telling people. Whoever's doing it, people aren't coming in telling people and just coming into a chat room and saying, "Look, I've done this, I've done that." You've got to come and show people. People won't
Yeah,
just go, "Oh yeah, you've done it, brilliant." It's got to be shown, or at least that you've tried to do it and you got to this point. Because there's so many people I know. When we started out, nobody knew what to do. We were learning it and then going into a courtroom and seeing what happened. And that's how you saw people panic. That's how you had solicitors coming over saying, "Where have you got this stuff from? Do you not realise we pay council tax as well, you know? You don't come and talk to us." So people have been shook with all this. Like I said, people can't get that check anymore, so they just think, "Oh well, I won't bother." Well, if you've got a remedy there, mate, and we don't need to have that check and we can use something else, let's prove it. Let's see it done.
credit is debt and debt is credit. The two are synonymous. There isn't a difference between a debt and a credit. So if I hand you a debt note, I'm still handing you a credit. You're still getting a credit. So same as
Debt is an asset in a debt-based economy.
that's it. The end of your videos always says it. Everything's free in a debt-based economy. Of course it is, but guess
Yeah.
what? I'm performing on the document, so I won't paying for it. I'm not doing it for free. I don't work for free. So if you want me to perform on your documents, I won't pay for it. Simple as that. That is my commercial financial transaction.
So if your fee's the exact same amount of what they claim, it should just be a null and void.
An offset, yeah, cancel on both sides. But they've got the bill or the negotiable instrument. They've got it. They've either got it, shredded it, done whatever with it. They should have really hold on to it because whoever's shredded it or got rid of it, they're liable for up to 7 years in prison. It's very serious.
Actually, could I say something here?
Yeah.
When I was, I'm talking about 1988 now. I remember there was a clerk. His name was Eamon Hughes, but well, I shouldn't say his name. But anyway, he was what we call our battery clerk. He was the clerk. He dealt with all the payments and everything. And what happened was some of the soldiers were going overdrawn, and the bank were writing to them and charging them £25 per letter, plus the fees of going overdrawn. Now, what he did, he came up with this thing and went, "No, guys, I'll tell you what to do. Write a letter back to them and charge them £35, so then you'll be £10 in credit, and it's for your time of writing the letter." So that's what the soldiers did. And they did it, and the bank honoured it. I don't know why they did it, but he said it was the law. And that I think it went down to the bills of exchange. And I remember that as a very young soldier, that everyone was being like, because soldiers went out on the piers and like enjoyed themselves. And as soon as they went overdrawn, because the banks allowed them to go overdrawn, there was a law in that. I don't know what it was called. I can't remember. But the clerk, Eamon Hughes, his name was, but he did come up with that thing of saying, if you write back to the bank and charge them for the letter, it will be squashed and they will credit you. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, just thought I'd throw that point in there.
Well, I think because we are all creditors, we should be acting like a banker. We should be doing all this stuff, but it should be a lot more simpler than what Rich has had to go through. It should have been as simple as just signing and dating, and it's done and dusted, and everybody's happy. Everybody knows where the money's been spent. You know,
It's a piece of piss, really, what I've done, mate. It's really easy what I've done. Like I ain't really had to try. Like I've got ADHD, so like yeah, it's hard for me to get round to doing tasks. But when I do them, I smash them out. So the letters and stuff that I've composed and things that I've sent and that process hasn't really been more than about half an hour for each one. So it's knowing that I'm actually the creditor, and that any signature that I put on a piece of paper generates wealth, regardless of where it goes to next. It gets traded on. It gets traded on and sold and bought and sold and bought and sold multiple times, and then it gets pulled together, SPV'd, and sent to the Bank of England discount window facility. And that's exactly what happens with all securities, negotiable instruments, bonds, mortgages, basically anything on a piece of paper that they're saying someone owes this for this or whatever, that it gets sold multiple times. So like they owe me. There's not a chance or hope in hell that they can prove me wrong, that what I've done is wrong.
Again, though, it's only gonna. The fruit will come if once you get into a courtroom. You know, I think you deserve a bit more credit than it was just simple half an hour to actually process all this stuff and to know it and then articulate it. That's the hard part. Writing it on a piece of paper, it's all the learning, it's all the hours that you've put in to actually get this. And it's not only to get it, Rich, but what I found was take all the complication out of it. Like I said, sign and date for me, that's where I was at. I don't need to argue about anything else. You sent me this and you say I owe you. So under the bills of exchange, I sign and date it, obligation done. Now, with me, if I'd have been able to sue them and hold their feet to the fire, they would have had to process that, which meant my bill would be set off. That would mean that every bill that they sent me from that point then would have to go through the same process. And I would be able to use that process with the electric, with the water. Again, when it comes to these taxes that aren't applicable, but you're participating in, it's a bit more to and fro. It's not as clear. I get what you've done. I get what you're saying, but it's that action. It's getting it into that courtroom and going, boom. You know, it's that we need.
The gas, water, and electric is so much easier. 100 million miles easier. Really, really easy. Because if you go on Company's House, yeah, I live in Yorkshire, so Yorkshire Water are obviously trying to send me bills or whatever. So if you go on Company's House right now and you type in Yorkshire Water, and then you click on that, and then you go back to their incorporation document, click on the incorporation document, download it, go into it, scroll down, and then at some point in there, it'll say
Oh, we lost him.
sorry, I was just about to do the wordage. I can't remember it fully, but it goes along the lines of to draw, make, accept, discount, and endorse bills of exchange, bills of lading, negotiable instruments, warrants, debentures, something like warrants, debentures, and other negotiable instruments. It says that wordage on the incorporation documents of Yorkshire Water. I've checked Eon Energy. That says exactly the same. Pretty much every private limited company that is registered on company's house, like 90% of the companies, they all have this wordage, and they have to, because if they don't have that, they cannot operate in commerce. It's a very, very point blank way of showing that a company is a company, and they can either draw, make, accept, negotiate, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? I used to be employed by a guy, yeah, called Neil Buccaritis, yeah, and I was like, why is your company so shite that you're loaded up to back nines and you live in a mansion behind a gate and all this other stuff? Because he's got an incorporation document that says to draw, make, accept, and all this, yeah. So this is how he's done it. This is exactly how he's done it.
Did you ever see Dean Clifford's work?
I
I've heard of Dean Clifford.
don't think I've heard his name, but if you talk about the work, I might know.
If you look for Dean Clifford's work, he's a Canadian lad. They put him in jail. They put him in jail because he ended up with a farm with few acres because of what he did through using this stuff. And
Do you know where? Yeah, Chris Fleming.
Go on, sorry.
I've got a similar story, but I don't think he went to prison. Christopher Fleming in America. Yeah. He's recently come back and he started doing more videos and being more active. But yeah, he got a mansion and something else, a spa or something, and all this other stuff. I don't think he went to prison. I don't think he did. But yeah, he knew what he was doing and he did it.
Good stuff, mate. Well, you keep us posted on it, Rich.
Yeah.
Keep us posted on it. Michael, we're running out of time now, lads. We're into the last 5 minutes. So, have you got anything to close out with, Rich?
That's it. That's pretty much it, mate. If you see lights and stuff in the sky, it's called Project Bluebeam. Grab yourself some tubs of blue paint and some blue tarpaulins, string them over your house and next door. You'll be fine.
Sweet. Thanks a lot, Paul. I'll catch you next week.
See you later. Ta-ra.
Sorry, Michael, I've deleted you.
Nah, that's all right, mate.
Saying closing, pal.
No, it's just about what I came on just to say about all these things that are going on right now with like all the drones and things. I see people panicking about all that, but don't worry. It's nothing to do with alien invasion. That's all I can say about that, you know. But what you were going on with tonight, yeah, what a brave man, and I'm so proud of him that he's doing that. But I'm on your side as well, Paul. That you started a movement, if you like, with the bills of exchange and how to go into court with a remedy. You know, I mean, you know, we're up against it. There's no doubt about it. And the more that we can come together, the stronger that we will become. There is a lot going on behind the scenes that people don't realize at the moment. There's a lot of court cases going on. There's a lot of stuff happening in the background with, dare I say it, crimes against humanity and things that I know personally from me and my fellow, let's say, war pensioners, let's just say, that are coming out. And I believe, and I really hope it does come true, that the power is now coming back to the people. I just heard of a case of, what's his name, Junior, in the Supreme Court. He just won a case in the Supreme Court against Big Pharma. What's his name? Oh, God. RFK Jr., sorry. On the Trump team. And it's published. You can actually read it. If you go to the website, you can read it. And I think they are collapsing. I think what we call the deep state are going to collapse, and I think the power is going to come back to the people. I'm not saying Trump is the man, but I think the people are the people, and that is where it's going to start. Thank you,
Well,
Paul. Thank you.
no worries, brother. Well, Trump's certainly going to bring in the changes. Definitely. I'm sure Taylor's going to top this up. But thanks, Michael. We'll catch you again next week, pal.
Thank you, mate.
Ciao, man.
Hey, what's up, Webby? How's it going, man?
Mate. Go on.
Man. Yo, has everyone been watching this stuff on my channel?
I've seen a few bits. You put some interesting stuff on there. Some
Yeah,
some of it's very old. I mean, the loose change one. I managed to go skip through that because I know it anyway. But it was nice to reminisce on some of the simple questions that people just don't seem to be able to have any answers to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, oldies and goodies. I try to post see, the thing is, I avoid posting anything that has talk of COVID in it because if I do, I end up getting flagged for it. I could post anything else, but if it has the C-19 in it, nope, I can't post that. So,
Well, you have posted some interesting stuff. There's a lot of information of the CIA stuff coming out at the minute. They reckon that the CIA, since it came into operation, it's killed around about 7 million people. And it's allowed to do that as long as the government doesn't get blamed for it. They can do anything. That's an organisation that's just going to keep going, isn't it? It's like Hydra, mate.
You ever heard of the fifth column?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what's going on right now. When Trump on his first day in office back in 2017 walked into the CIA headquarters building, he talked about the fifth column. He knows what these bastards have been up to. And the thing about the CIA that's interesting, it was formed under Truman in 1948, but it didn't really get its fangs until Eisenhower came along in the mid-50s. He's the one who gave it its power.
He regrets it though, didn't he, Truman?
No, he didn't. Oh, Truman? You said Truman?
Yeah.
Maybe. I know about that statement that he gave. I don't know if I believe it or not. Even if it's true, it's like too little, too late, buddy. It's like what Woodrow Wilson said about the Fed. It's like, dude, you can regret nothing, man, because it's too late, bro. You did it. You're responsible.
You did.
That's like if I took a gun and I shot your brains out, and then I said I regret it. It's like, okay.
Well, it's good though. It's good that they regret it. It's good that they're sorry, but there should still be a punishment for it. It doesn't matter. There's always.
That's true.
Mommy,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I made the whole country terrible. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me for it?
I know. Anyway, we've run out of time here, mate. I don't know where you went, but it was in the chat group for a good 40 minutes.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't feel like coming on. I knew that. I didn't feel like coming on because you guys were having a lengthy conversation, so I didn't feel like.
No, mate. We just need to be able to. We need to be able to speak about different things. More credit. I get what you're saying about the persons, but I think you're taking some of those out of context. It's nothing to do with persons, as in surnames. I think we're on cross purposes, but I get what you're saying, look, pal. Yeah, Taylor, it'd be nice for you to come on with some stuff. What's going to come? Because obviously the inauguration's coming up. Is he going to be allowed to do it? Are they going to try and do something else? Is he? It's going to be interesting. Well, interesting 2 weeks.
Well, wait. Was that a rhetorical question, or was that a regular question?
Take it whichever way you want, mate.
Okay, well, because if you're honestly asking me, well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that this movie that we're in is not going to be ending anytime soon. It doesn't mean that the good stuff isn't going to happen. It just means that we're still going to be under COG for the time being. COG meaning continuity of government, and this whole operation's been worldwide. Hence why Trump was talking about Canada about a week ago or so, talking about Canada. Very interesting. Now, people, what?
It is very interesting. You're right.
Yes. Before we head off, though, do you mind if I give you and everyone else here a homework assignment?
You can say it, yeah.
All right. Go on to this this Rumble page. Go check out this man's content, and thankfully I can post in the chat. And go on to this what fuck's sakes. But yeah, that's yeah. Just go to that just go to that link and go watch some of that dude's stuff. That dude's stuff is really good. If I had to say one video in particular, go check out the video on the two faces of Donald Trump. That's a really good video to check out.
How long is that video?
An hour and a half.
Okay, I'll have a scan, mate. So
okay, just
go on. Say something in closing and make it quick.
Yeah, there realnewsandhistory.com. That's the website I'm thinking of. That's go sign up for that. Go and take a look at the guy's content. Very, very good content.
Stick the link in the comments under the video, not in the chat room. Stick them in the comments under the link. All right, mate.
Yeah, I can do that. That's fair
okay,
enough.
brother. Stay in touch, Sarah. I'll speak to you through the week.
All right, sounds good, man.
Cheers, mate. God bless.
Cheers. God bless.
Well, I lost Alex. I'm not too sure what happened to him. I'll try and catch up with him later. But thanks again for the chat room. It's been some really good interaction. It's a pity a couple of the lads in there, lads or girls, don't come on to articulate. It's not much of a conversation to just pick out from bits of text. You know, come on and have a conversation. You might sharpen stuff. Let's have this full conversation, mate. We've got to start talking outside our own echo chambers, I suppose. That's what we're looking to try and do now. But we've got so much distraction coming. We've got more and more things being pushed about jibby jabs and masks and lockdowns and stuff like that. And I know Jimmy's looking forward to possible lockdowns because he's hoping the podcasts will go like they did for him last time, where they were 3-4 hours long and there was lots of fun, lots of laughs, lots of tears, because people were sharing a lot of what they're going through mentally. And, you know, you can see just in our chat room that there's a lot of people suffering with this stuff. And, you know, some of us have gone through things and we can say, look how easy it is to understand. But it might be easy to understand. It's not easy for people to just go and do it. You know, it's you can't just say go and do that and it's done. It takes fight. But, you know, where do we go with this? Where do we allow it to go? Where do we allow this government, who's not under our control, don't bother listening to us, don't work for us, yet we fund it all? Are we going to fund our own demise like we've always done? And does it come down to more and more lockdowns where, you know, we said it earlier on about the Martin Niemöller situation, where when they come for me, there's nobody to say anything for me. We've just got to be careful. You know, they're doing jibby jabs for everything now. A virus that eats your anus. It's just baffling. But we've seen what happened with the jibby jabs. Let's try and speak to our family and friends and hope and pray that they don't do it again. Thanks a lot, guys and girls. Hopefully, God willing, we'll see you next week. And God bless.
Fake news, the BBC and places like that. 6 100% increase in thrombosis. Exclusively in Java settings. Cancel. You cancel.
Give me my vaccine, clot my veins. Give me my vaccine or I'm in chains. Give me my vaccine or play my part. Give me my vaccine and play my heart. AstraZeneca and Pfizer, what you stuck in me, I'm no wiser. Oxford and Moderna too. If I get sick then I can't sue. Give me my vaccine, I'll stand in line. Experiment on me like Frankenstein. Give me my vaccine, roll up my sleeve. Protect me from something I don't believe. AstraZeneca and Pfizer, what you stuck in me, I'm no wiser. Oxford and Moderna too. If I get sick then I can't sue. Stab me, jab me straight away. Please modify my DNA so I can fly and I can play, and then I can be on my way. Give me my vaccine. Give me my vaccine. Give me my vaccine, clot my veins. Give me my vaccine or I'm in chains. Give me my vaccine, I'll play my part. Give me my vaccine and play my heart.
I'm not going to take that in my body because it turns a bunch of blood.
Give me my vaccine, I'll take all three, even though there is no guarantee. Give me my vaccine so I don't die. Give me my vaccine and tell no lie. AstraZeneca and Pfizer, what you stuck in me, I'm no wiser. Oxford and Moderna too. If I get sick then I can't sue. Give me my vaccine, pop that vial. Let me take part in your new drug trial. Give me my vaccine, I'll serve the state. Give me my vaccine and seal my fate. AstraZeneca and Pfizer, what you stuck in me, I'm no wiser. Oxford and Moderna too. If I get sick then I can't sue now. Give me my vaccine, clot my veins. Give me my vaccine or I'm in chains. Give me my vaccine, I'll play my part. Give me my vaccine and play my heart.
It's hard enough being a funeral director anyway, but when you're doing the funerals of people that have been unlawfully killed, it's fucking soul destroying.